All right, glad to hear it. So we're continuing where we left off with my last class last month. So from beginning to end, building the righteous character from within. So for this particular class, we're gonna do something different. All right, it's unorthodox. So, take notes and, I'll get the critiques from you afterward to see how you liked it. Maybe a new twist you may like, or maybe something that it may need to go. But there's different ways that you can learn, and you have one aspect, reading the scriptures. You also have where you converse about things. You learn through teachings, verbal things. Remember, for most of our people's history, we didn't have Bible of our own. Everything was always through teachings from what it is that we were taught from our parents, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, through verbally teaching the law. So you can also watch things. You can watch movies, TV shows, and meditate on how these things reflect on the scriptures in our daily lives. So in this case, there's some games that can be helpful as well. And this is one of them. This one's called Until Dawn. So I want you guys to pay attention to the characters. I want you guys to pay attention to the details and the gameplay, all right? And see how these things may affect you. This is 100% open, so anything that you guys have, comments, suggestions, how you feel about the character, the details, feel free to say anything at any point in time. Raise your hand, let it be acknowledged, because this is supposed to be an open format. So meaning it's 100% open for you to share whatever it is that you would like to feel about the game, about the situation, about the characters, about the gameplay. Make sense? Good, good, good. All right, so this is going to be only set aside for an hour, and then we're going to go back to traditional. So this is pretty much to see how do you like the concept of it, okay? If it's something that's good, we'll keep it. If not, then we'll lose it. So it's a beta phase, as they say. So we're going to cover aspects of, and some may say, well, why do this? We're going to cover aspects of real emotions and characters, which is sometimes hard to do without it seeming like a tangent going from one thing to one thing to one thing. So having aspects of a movie, a TV show, a game, kind of keeps it focused on a particular story or plot. So it kind of makes it easier in that way. But we want to see how to better deal with the decisions and make better choices and decisions based upon what the characters make. So we may see, I may ask you, hey, should I go left or should I go right? Should I choose to tell the truth or should I choose to gossip? And why is that important? Why would I tell the truth? Why, or should I lie about this? So we may even go around the room where I may say, Mashab, may you make the decision, and what made you make that choice? Why is that a good decision? So we'll do some things of that nature. But this isn't to be rushed. It's an experience that's meant to be enjoyed and, meant to be taking your time and meditate on. So I really want you guys to meditate on the details and the characters. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and we'll begin. And pay attention. So you guys ever seen The Butterfly Effect, that movie? Yes. So a lot of times we make decisions and we have to deal with those things. That mic good?
Come on.
Okay. So the small decision can dramatically change the future. Your actions will shape how the story unfolds, just like in life. Our actions shape how things happen, the decisions that we make. And it says your story is one of many possibilities. So now I want to pause and get Sirach 27:5. And why is this important? Get Sirach chapter 27 and verse 5. And read that, please, sir.
Sirach, chapter 27, verse 5. The furnace proveth the potter's vessel, so the trial of a man is in his reasoning.
Is in his what?
In his reasoning.
So our trial, everything is in our reasoning in the decisions in which we make. Get Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2 and verse 1 and hold that because we're coming back. So now the other part of it is there's a way we can reason that can be beneficial, and there's also a way that we can reason that may not be as beneficial, right? So go ahead and read that.
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2 verse 1. For the ungodly said.
They said what?
Reasoning with themselves, but not aright.
So there's a way that you can reason that may not necessarily be right, that may not necessarily be adequate, that may not necessarily be something that's productive concerning what it is that the Most High inspires us to do. Go back to where we were in Ecclesiastes chapter 27 and verse 5.
Sirach 27, verse 5. The furnace proveth the potter's vessel, so the trial of man is in his reasoning.
Let's get the definition of trial. And maybe also get the definition of reasoning. This trial says the examination before a judicial tribunal of the facts put an issue in a cause, often including issues of law as well as those facts. Also said the determination of a person's guilt or innocence by due process of law. The act of trying, testing, or putting to the proof, an attempt or effort to do something. So our trial, the act of us seeing whether or not we're guilty, is through our reasoning. And what is the definition of reasoning? Does someone have it? If not, I'll get it. Reasoning, and it says, the act or process of a person who reasons, the process of forming conclusions, judgments, or inferences from facts or premises. So your reason is how you arrive at conclusions. What made you do that? What made you start to gossip about that brother in the first place? What made you decide that committing adultery, sleeping with the harlot was something that was okay? So everything is about the decisions and things that we make, and that's what the Most High is going to judge us on, right? What did you do? Why did you choose to do those things? Why did you choose to live like that? So let's continue. So everything, just like with life, is choosing your actions carefully. And I want you to pay attention to the detail. All right, so what do you guys think they're about to do? Take a guess. What does someone think they're about to do? What do you think they're about to do?
Jump out and scare.
Jump out and scare? What do you think, Miles? What do you think? You don't know? Okay. All right, it's getting interesting. So at the end of the day, all we heard was them talking about how they think this situation may be a little cruel. I won't believe she deserves it. How I don't want her to get my man. There's different things going on, but we don't know exactly what it is that they're thinking about doing. But from looks of it, it looks like they're going to do some sort of prank, right? So let's see how the story unfolds. Now, of course, there's not going to be any actual nudity in this. And occasional opprobrious words. So let's look at this note, because this note gives the detail of what exactly was going to happen. So this note, it says, Hannah, you look so hot in that shirt, but I bet you're even hotter out of it. Come to the guest room at 2:00 a.m. So you guys seeing that, what do you think Hannah should have done? That was a note that was given to her that was left. What do you think she should have done? Disregard it? Is she married? No, I mean, that's a good question, though, because what if the sister is married? But, I mean, she's not. But what would you say?
She should ignore it.
All right. She should ignore it? All right, what do you say?
Yeah, ignore it. Go to bed, you know.
Ignore it, go to bed. What else?
I'll get to the bottom. She should get to the bottom of it and start asking some questions, because you don't want to go to bed with somebody asking demanding those type of things, and you on vacation wherever they're at.
Okay, okay. With the background, these are all teenagers. You know, they're all high school seniors, and they're at one of their friends' parents' lodge for a little vacation, holiday vacation.
Oh my God. What did our naive sister get herself into now? I got your note.
No, she's not having it.
I mean, we should start with a little, making out and see where it goes from there. Oh, hell yeah.
Oh my God. She's taking her shirt off. What? Oh my God. Matt, what are you doing here? Hannah.
I'm sorry, Hannah. It's all gonna
Why?
get
Just a stupid prank. Hey, you guys are jerks. You know that?
All right, so now, we're going to take a minute and review everything that happened. So now, how do you feel about it? What exactly happened? What would you add to it? You saw everything. She went in there. Her friends pretty much set her up for a prank, and the boy that she was interested in, she had a crush on, set her up. How do you think, if this is something that's happening, this is your daughters or your sons, what would you say? What would you add to the situation? You looking at it, how would you help them with that situation? What do you feel that Hannah should have done differently? What do you feel they should have done differently? If anyone wants to share.
If they were really her friends, they shouldn't have done that to her in the first place.
Same thing?
If I wasn't in the truth, then I'd tear up the whole room. We would be fighting and get rid of that electronic thing. So, but being in the truth, then those are your brothers and sisters. You have to give them a rebuking according to Scripture.
Okay, we'll reflect on it. A few of those things dealing with what the Scriptures say. But wanted to hear from you, God, because are these things that actually happen in real life? These things, some of you guys may have been in a situation like that, but these are things that are very common in this day and age that happen all the time. But how would you really deal with these things? You know, so let's go ahead and get Sirach 27:7. And read that.
Verse 7. Praise no man before thou hearest him speak.
So a lot of times we become very trusting of some people. You know, we feel that, you know, because remember, Hannah thought very highly of this particular man, you know, but at the end of the day, what the Scripture says?
For this is the trial of man.
Read it again.
Praise no man before thou hearest him speak.
So the Scripture says, praise no man before thou hearest him speak. So read.
For this is the trial of men.
Because the things that we say comes from our heart. It comes from our mind. So that shows what's really in your spirit. How are you really dealing? Go ahead and get Proverbs 23:7. Read that.
Proverbs 23, verse 7. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he.
So as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. So our thoughts are what makes our character, how we deal, because that's from our thoughts is what's going to determine our actions, the things that we do, the things that we say. So it's important for us to be mindful of those things, because otherwise it can lead to problems, because guess what? Once those things are done, is there any way that her friends can go back and change what it is that they did? No, they can't, right? So after you've done it, that's it. So any damage that you've done, any pain that you've caused, that's it, and you have to live with that, unfortunately. Even the aspect where even Beth, as you see on the screen, her other sister even said, what has my naive sister gotten her into? So knowing the aspect where her sister may be gullible at times, which sometimes we may have been gullible at times, right? And put ourselves in vulnerable situations that now it's like, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I wish I wouldn't have put myself in that situation. And having those good friends and even having good mentors is important, because you can very well help prohibit someone from making a naive or foolish decision. Because think about it, do we not have interest in people when we're looking for relationships in our own lives? And sometimes, may we be naive or gullible even in here? We can be, right? So, but you knowing that sometimes you can very well help curtail a situation and keep someone from being as naive or gullible by helping lead them in a better path. And sometimes it may take being honest with somebody. But go ahead and get Sirach 22 and 25. Because you even had one of the other sisters that, you know, even tried to speak up for her, like, hey, don't you think this is a little bit cruel? Maybe you guys shouldn't do this. Was she being a good example or a bad example? The one that spoke up and said, maybe you think this is a little bit cruel. Maybe we shouldn't do this. The blonde Edomite, right? Go ahead and read that.
Sirach 22, verse 25. I will not be ashamed to defend a friend.
So was she ashamed to try to speak up for her friend? Did anyone else listen to her? No one else listened to her, right? No one else wanted to take sides with her, saying maybe this is a little bit cruel, because what was it that another sister said after that? She deserves it, right? So where was her mindset at? Evil, right? Very evil. Go to Proverbs 14 and 29. Now, she said she deserved it because of the fact that she was jealous, because of the fact that she liked her boyfriend or who she was with, or technically we would say her husband. That's why she was jealous. Get Proverbs 14 and 29.
Verse 29. He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding. But he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly.
So, you know, sometimes we could be a little hasty in arriving to conclusions, because at the time we may be emotional. We may be hurt. We may be upset. We may be bothered by what it is someone else has done. But we may feel a little more of a harsh sentence may be worthy. A little more harsh, being a little more rash, and not necessarily thinking and taking other things into consideration. Get Tobit 4 and 15. And this is one of the main things we don't take in consideration. And this is one of the main things our friends didn't take into consideration.
Tobit chapter 4, verse 15. Do that to no man which thou hatest.
So as we learned a lot of times in kindergarten, preschool, very early, treat others the way you want to be treated, right? Because did it seem like her friends took that in consideration when they decided to play the prank on her? None of them took in consideration, right? So, and sometimes we don't even take that in consideration when we deal with others. You know, a lot of times when it might be a situation where sister might make something and you may not necessarily agree that what she made for that particular feast was actually something that tasted pretty good. And a lot of times we'll more so complain about, ooh, who made this? And this don't even taste right. Instead of saying, you know what? If I made something and it wasn't that good, or I may not have cooked it the best, I wouldn't want anyone to act like that with my food or what it is that I cooked. I would prefer if somebody didn't treat me, you know, and if it's something that it wasn't necessarily the best, how can I make it better? You know, what was it about what I made that wasn't as good, that could have been improved? You know, was it too salty? Was it too sweet? Was it too bitter? Was it too spicy? You know, do I need to add more salt to it? or, you know, just seeing what it is that I can do, critiquing me so that way I can make the necessary changes. Instead of putting a brother or a sister down over what it is that they made and that you feel they didn't do adequately. And at the same time, sometimes we have to even put ourselves in a situation where, okay, maybe I was a little emotional, knowing that everyone has their own opinion. Everyone has the way that they personally feel about things. So just because that one person may feel like it was spicy, everyone else could have enjoyed it. Maybe that was just that one person's opinion. But if you don't know, it's always good to ask. And if you do feel a certain way about it, it's always good to, you know, let that person know. Because sometimes we don't do it in the best way. And that's what ends up hurting a lot of people's feelings. We don't do it in the best way, and it ends up being very counterproductive. Go ahead and get Sirach 6 and 7. Because now, back to the aspect of her, Hannah finding the note. She finds the note, decides to go meet Mike because she has a crush on him. She looks up to him. She likes him. You know, going back to what I was asking earlier, well, what should she do? What should she have done? Get Sirach 6 and 7.
Verse 7. If thou wouldest get a friend.
So, if thou wouldest get a friend, read.
Prove him first.
Do what?
Prove him first.
So the scripture says to prove that individual first. What does it mean to prove? Let's get a definition. What are we looking at when we say to prove? It says to establish the truth or genuineness of. To establish the authenticity or validity of. To give demonstration of by action. So through action, you establish whether or not this person is trustworthy. Whether or not this person really has your best interest at heart. Whether or not this person is really going to look out for you and go to bat for you in the same way you probably go to bat for them. Those things have to be done through proving that individual, putting them to the test and seeing how they are. Do you believe Hannah did a good job of doing that with Mike? You believe she really put him to the test in a good way to see whether or not he was trustworthy, honest, or someone it is that she should look to further relationship with? No, she didn't, right? And that led her to put herself in a vulnerable situation where Mike put himself where he'd rather take advantage of her than just simply dealing with it in a wiser way, in a better way, to where you're not embarrassing the sister. Because now think about it. If you're in that situation, or if that happened to you, you know, think about if those were your friends, how would you feel if they would have done that to you?
I probably would have felt like betrayed.
Probably would have felt betrayed, right? Do you think it would have been harder for you to gain those friends' trust back? For you to actually have an aspect of trust for them again? You feel that would be difficult?
In a way, yeah. I mean, it depends on the relationship I had with them prior, but in a way, it feels like, some things, it's hard to get over. But, yeah.
Oh, you said something true. Some things are hard to get over. Some things are hard to get past. Would you guys agree? Some things are difficult. What do you think makes some of those things difficult? Mosh, what do you think makes some of those things difficult? Why are some things hard to get over?
Because we hold on to it.
All right, so the brother said because we hold on to it. Get Proverbs 18 and 19. One of it is because we hold on to it. Anybody have something else that they feel is different? Go ahead, sis. Let me pass it to you.
Just not only holding on to it, it's the idea of having to let go of a certain image that you had for someone based on the relationship that you built with them. Because once it's broken, then that means that you can no longer look at them the exact same way. They've kind of torn that image of themselves that you built up between you and your friendship. And now it's kind of hard to see them the same way. It's going to be, a shift.
Okay, that's a great answer. Would you guys agree with that? What you said? Yeah, many of you feel that way. You have something to add? Are you good? Okay, cool. Not a problem. But yeah, that's definitely on point, because many, and it's good to hear from you guys from those things, because these are things that happen and change how we feel about each other. You know, that now I've been hurt in a way and it's hard for me to get past that because of the damage that was done to me. You know, so go ahead and read that, Proverbs 18 and 19.
Verse 19, a brother offended is harder to be won than a stranger, than a strong city. And
Read it again.
a brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle.
Right. So an aspect where a brother that's offended is harder to be won than a strong city. So because at that point in time, there's been so much damage, so much pain caused, this person now needs a much greater time to heal from that wound. Because remember, words cut. You know, the thing that we say, as the scriptures say, you know, his word is sharper than any two-edged sword. You know, words cut, period. Words can be very, very hurtful. You know, even though they say sticks and stone may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That was the lie, that was the cover-up, because I was really hurt by what it is that you said, and I tried to play it off and make it seem like I'm good, but I'm hurt. I'm wounded on the inside. My spirit is hurt. And we can get cut all the time by anything somebody says. You know, a lot of times we can get kicked right in the pride. You know, so, like, for example, there was one time I was cut. There was one and only time I've been cutting this truth, and it was, like, 3 years now, 3 years ago, I want to say. And it was when we were doing a Wednesday Soldiers class. And I came in, and it was usually Tazai Wan would teach it. Every now and then, Ram would drop in. So here I am. You know, I'm always late because my wife, she was working a school job, and so the class started. Did it start at 6? See, you don't remember? Yeah, it was started at 6, huh? Yeah, so I always be late because my wife got off at 6, and I had to wait for her to come home in order to go to the Wednesday class. So situation where I came in, and, you know, it was one of those moments when I walked in. It was like Ron was there, that special occasion. He was like, "Hey, why you late?" In that moment, you freeze. You got that, you know, what is it? That's so Raven. You had that moment of insight, you in your head, you know, you thinking. And I'm up there like, man, and the first thing that hits you is the pride. You like, man, I always communicate. I'm always talking. I'm always on my game. I'm always doing this. And then you go back and you reason with yourself, but damn, that's not what he asked you. He asked you, why were you late? I mean, excuse me. He asked you, did you communicate? So it was one of those things. He first asked me, why was you late? And before I could say anything, it was like, did you communicate? And that's why I took that moment and I paused. I was like, man, what he asked me? Okay, why was you late? He asked me, did I communicate? And the answer is no. You kind of snap back and rally. Nah, I didn't communicate. And they're like, see, brothers got to communicate, things of that nature. But guess what? That was the first and only time I got cut in the truth. But the reason being was because of the pride in me, because of the standard that I generally set, that yes, your job is usually known for communicating. And in that moment, I did not communicate. I did not do what it is that one of the epitomes of my spirit in me to do is to make sure I communicate. So that was an aspect where it was cutful and hurtful toward my character. It makes sense? And how many of us, that happens to us in many different times, many different situations. It can happen any point in time. It can happen on your job. You know, hey, I need this assignment and it's not in. I said I'll get it in. You know, it's like, damn, give me more time. You know, we can get like that. And it's like, well, damn, I'm just saying, get it in, you know, but nevertheless, because of how we deal with it. No different than, you know, if you're married and maybe you know, ask your wife, you know, you tell her, you know, hey, did you pick up so-and-so from the grocery store? I'm going, ain't I? And it's like, man, all I'm asking is, did you pick it up? You know, why are you getting so mad at me? Sometimes we become very hostile when a lot of things hit us in the pride. We become cut, we become very hurt when certain things affect us because it became personal. It became very personal towards our own character, our own desires, our own ideas, how we feel about ourselves. And when we're not on top of our game or we're not doing what it is we should be doing right, now we feel hurt. Now we feel cut. Make sense? But yet and still, it's all about how we deal with it. Going back to the trial of man, it's all in your reasoning, all in your thought process, how you think about things, how you reason. Just like I dealt with this there earlier. I could have chosen to become very upset, become very irate and say, I communicate all the time and, on time, and we just forgive a brother for this time, and, but that's now me becoming emotional. That's now me giving myself over unto that spirit when it was just a simple question. And at the end of the day, it wasn't anything that that brother did that was wrong. It was something that I did. I did not do what I was supposed to do, and I'm getting upset with the person who's saying or calling me out on it. It's no different than if you're supposed to bring a particular dish, and someone asks you, hey, sis, I thought you were supposed to bring, potato salad. I thought you were supposed to bring chicken. I mean, where your chicken at? It's not the time to be acting like that or taking offense. Whenever you're under the chopping block, whenever someone's asking you, that's not the time to respond abruptly. That's not the time to, try to take that blame and put it back on them. That's the time to be humble about the situation and say, you know what, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I didn't take care of that. I didn't handle that. That doesn't matter if it's, at home. And same thing works both ways. If I'm supposed to, get the girls ready, and, with my wife, I'm supposed to get the girls ready to go, for school or let's say for class, and instead I decided to, hey, what we're doing here, I decided to spend time playing a video game. My wife comes home like, the girls ready? I'm like, no, the girls aren't ready. And she just asks, not in a bad way, just, why didn't you get them ready? And I'm like, what you mean why I get them ready? I'm the man, you go in there and get them ready. Tell me how to do stuff. Now I'm being extra. I'm being extra. Because the problem wasn't about me being the head or me being the man. That was something that I was supposed to do that I failed to do. I got offended because it was brought to me. And because it was brought to me and I was offended, I used me being the head or the husband as an excuse to cop out and put it on my wife. And thus, now I created a big argument that didn't even have to go there, but I took it there. You see how that works? Being prideful. I said it? Okay, cool. But me being prideful, and those situations do happen, so and I'm not talking about it if, someone being, the wife being irate. I'm just saying, just call me. Just saying, hey, I thought, because sometimes don't we as men agree that we're going to do something? Baby, you take out the trash? Oh, yeah, I'll take care of it. Come home, the trash still sitting there. It's like, man, I thought you were going to take care of it, So you run into those problems, and then we get offended when we do those things. It's the way of your life, huh? And it leads to arguments and problems, but whose fault is it? Am I really going to take those opportunities to really give my wife more help because I didn't do what it is that I was going to do, that I agreed to do, I said I was going to do? That now becomes unjust of me. And if I do choose to become upset, now it turns into a situation where I'm not putting myself in the best light as a husband or as a leader, for my wife. And that's something she can hold against me and really feel like, well, damn, it's like every time, you're always willing to, get on me about what it is I have to do. But every time I just mention something it is that you said you were going to do, now I'm wrong. You create a very negative atmosphere, not necessarily about her, usurping authority or, coming down on you or any sort of way being out of order, but just an aspect of just bringing up something that you said you were going to do. Now you're put in a situation where she's wrong. And that's not right. Those are things, that we do. So those are things we have to be mindful of. But go ahead and read Proverbs 18 and 19 again.
Proverbs chapter 18, verse 19. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle.
Right, because the bars of a castle are hard and strong, right? Hard. It's hard to bend those things, hard to get past them. With the same things, when we become offended and we become contentious, it's now hard to mend those things. It's now hard to see eye to eye again. Go ahead and get Sirach chapter 6 and read verse 7 and then verse 13. Go ahead and read verse 7 and then 13.
Sirach chapter 6, verse 7. If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him.
Jump down and read verse 13.
Verse 13. Separate thyself from thine enemies, and take heed of thy friends.
So it's to separate yourself from your enemies and take heed of thy friends. Because in this situation, this scenario, would you say, based upon that, that all of her friends were good that she had there? No, right? Would you want that group of friends? Right. So an aspect where that's why the scripture says take heed of your friends, going back to proving them first. Are they valid? Are they really there for you? You know, are they really going to have your back? Are they going to stick up for you? Are they going to defend you? And out of that group, you may only have one or two. Out of a group of 8, you may only have 1 or 2 because that may be your friend's friend or your friend's cousin's friend that also came along. It may not necessarily be your best friend. So those are things to keep important too, or keep in mind as well. Go ahead and get Sirach 37:1. Because the other thing is that a lot of times, you know, both in the world and even sometimes, you know, the truth, we're quick to call everybody our friend. We're quick to become trusting of just everybody. When let alone, you never know. Remember it. I'll put it this way, like I tell other brothers and sisters. Don't think just because, like I've been in the truth almost 10 years, you know, but don't think just because I've been in the truth almost 10 years that doesn't say anything about the quality of those years or my character in those years. The only thing when people say, I've been in the truth 5 years, I've been in the truth a year, 10 years, 20 years, the only thing they're really telling you is, I've known I'm an Israelite for the past 10 years. I've known I'm an Israelite for the past 20 years. That's all they're telling you. The other stuff you just take for face value. You haven't yet proven their character to see what was the quality of those years. How substantive were they? What type of person were you in those years? How long did it take you to get some of these things right? What were your struggles over some of these years? Because you don't know. Could have had problems as a thief for my first 2 years. I could have had, you know, had problems with, you know, homosexuality, pedophilia, rape, robbery, murder. Anything could have been my particular vice because you never know someone who walks through these doors or who even you may meet on the street from another congregation or just an Israelite just wearing fringes. You never know what their background is. You know, you don't know what they did in the world. You don't know if there was a drug dealer, a porno star. You don't know what it is that they actually did in the world unless they tell you. You know, other than that, you just have to go with what it is that they say. And a lot of times, you know, a lot of things people won't tell you, you know, because there's aspects of, you know, one, of course, not everything's everyone's business, but there's also something that you're insecure of because of, I ain't gonna talk about that, you know, because of certain events that happened or may have taken place, you know, so we're not going to mention those things. But read Sirach 37:1.
Verse 1. Every friend saith, I am his friend also, but there is a friend which is only a friend in name.
What do you think that means? There's a friend that is only a friend in name. What do you think that may mean? Nama, what do you think that means? What do you think it means? Friend only in name. Only in name.
Just based off what they have to show.
So she said, based off of what it is that they, you know, have to show, what is it that you may add to it? Let me see. You want to add anything to it? I don't want to put you on blast. You want to add anything to it? All right. So you want to add something, K-Son? What does it mean when only a friend in name? You want to add something to it? All right. So being only, you want to add something to it, sis? Okay. All right, so being only a friend in name, only a friend in title. Because sometimes, you want to add something? Go ahead,
I was just going to say, being only a friend in name sounds like someone that says that they're a friend, but their actions speak contrary.
Okay, good answer. All right, so someone who says they're a friend, but actions speak contrary. And that's really it. That's really the gist of it. So you're only a friend in title. Meaning I can say you're my friend. Oh, yeah, that's my friend. That's my bestie. But when it comes down to the things that you do, you show yourself to be contrary. You know, you ever got those friends, I'm always looking out for you, I'm always buying you something to eat, but you don't never buy me nothing to eat. I'll take you out, but you'll never take me out nowhere. I mean, man, last time I gave you $20, you still ain't paid me back. And it's like, I be paying for everything you need, you know, but sometimes you have friends like that. You're always lending to them, but they don't never help the other side of it. Like the people you go out who, you're always going out somewhere, but it's always that friend who ain't never got no money, and everybody pitching together to pay for him or pay for her. That's never only a name. You know, it's like every time, it's like, damn. You know, then it starts becoming disrespectful. You know, it's like, man, if you knew you ain't had no money, why you come with us? You should have stayed home.
Y'all had my back. I know
man, we got your back every single time, no? You know,
folks, man.
And that's what makes it difficult because now, as a friend, you don't want to say that because you don't want to be mean. You know, everyone loves their friend. Everyone wants to be nice, but sometimes it goes a little too far where it's like, damn it, I gotta say something because this is getting annoying. Like, it's like you're taking a lot of advantage of the situation where it's affecting my pockets and my emotions, you know, so I gotta say something. I gotta finally bring it up, and those things lead, you know, to problems. But get throughout 22 and 25. Get that last one.
22 and 25.
Yes, sir.
Are you saying in order to have a friend, that you have to live a life of tit for tat? Because sometimes
No, I'm not saying that. Let me give you the mic. So that way they can hear you. Sorry about that, sir.
It's okay.
All right, go ahead, my elder.
And if you're calling somebody a friend, and you believe that you believe that they're your friend as well, who's counting how many times you take him out? You know what I'm saying? Because if he's your friend, if you are his friend, like you say you are, you're not going to be counting. You're not going to, in other words, it's going to be a joy for him to be with you if you're saying you're his friend, you know? And now it sounds like you're talking, you know, tit for tat. In other words, if you take him out 2 or 3 times and he still don't have no money, then you're going to dog him out. That's the way it sounds to me.
Got you, and I definitely hear you on that. And there is a balance that, no, I don't mean someone who's being tit for tat, like, man, last week I took you out, how come you ain't take me out this week? That's
what it sounds.
Right, that's how it sounds. Okay, yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is someone who, time after time, let me give an extreme. I not only help take care of my friend, I'm there to help take care of my friend's kids. I'm there to also bail my friend out of jail, but when it comes around, I have a friend who isn't doing the same for me. This friend is one who's only taking and doesn't give. I'm there to watch your kids, but you won't do the same for me. Every time I actually watch my kid, there's always an excuse. I'm busy, I can't do that, you know. So, and then when it comes down to you always getting in trouble, and I'm always there to help you out, taking, you know, risks of my safety, of my security, of my family to help bail you out of jail. But when it comes down, when I need help with my rent, when I'm falling behind on groceries, you're never there to help me.
So he's taking advantage of your kindness.
Exactly. A friend that's taking advantage of your kindness, who's never helping at all in regards to a friend.
That's not a friend.
That's not a friend, exactly. So that's what I'm dealing with. I'm not dealing with, and you know, as a friend, you're not gonna be tit-tat like, hey, you know, last week I got you that Big Mac, you got me today? Yeah, I'm not saying you have to be, you know, like that. There's times where, yeah, your friend may fall on hard times, may not have it, and you may be a good friend and help them out of that situation. But of course, it's someone, they may help you out in other ways. You know, it's not necessarily always about someone who's only there to help contribute financially. There's other ways they may help with time or other aspects of donate to where there's a balance in the relationship. I'm dealing with when there's no balance. It's just an extreme. It's just one-sided, me helping you, but there's no other help that's coming back this way. So that's what I'm dealing with.
I understand. Thank you.
Not a problem, sir. Everybody, that makes sense? Okay, cool. Just let me know. So now, going back to the other aspect where, you know, you hear the, you know, aspect of the jealousy. You know, she ain't, you know, talking to my man or, you know, things of that nature. Making moves on my man. I'm sorry, that's the literal thing that she said. So, and you have a lot of aspects of that throughout a lot of the drama, a lot of the different series that we watch where it's always, think about it. We're fed really two versions of romance, or two versions really of drama. One of which is the everlasting shower of gifts that the man seems to sprinkle on the woman. The dates, the outings, the chocolate, the flowers, you're always getting that aspect. The man's always going above and beyond to cater to the woman. The other aspect that you get is the negative. And that part of that negative. When she's talking to my man and, you know, she's looking at him and I got to go put this B in her place, you know, because I don't need, and that's what fueled, you know, this situation there. She didn't care. You know, you get everything and he just a nigga, he ain't worth nothing. And how you just going to let that man run you like that? And please, I'm going to put him in his place. That's generally the two main aspects that we get. And is that about true? God, you know, thank you, sisters. So that's true. And we're fed pretty much this particular version or vision of romance. But let's go ahead and get it, because this is a lot of time what plagues a lot of these games, a lot of the movies, a lot of the shows that we watch. But just walk with me for a little bit. Get the definition of romantic. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll get it. I'm sorry. I'll get it. So definition of romantic. So it says, having, oh, this is from, let me give the source, Merriam-Webster.com. So dictionary romantic. It says, having no basis in fact, imaginary, impractical in conception or plan, visionary, marked by the imaginative or emotional appeal of what is heroic, adventurous, remote, mysterious, or idolized. Because sometimes with these things, both the good and the bad are things that are very impractical. It's not very practical for the man to take you on dates all the time and buy you flowers all the time, get chocolates all the time, because once again, you know, it's an aspect where because of those things, it paints a picture where in the sisters' heads, they feel like the man has to do those things. You know, how many sisters feel that way? Either personally or you know sisters that do feel that way, like the man has to do those things or else he doesn't love you. Is that true? You sisters, a lot of sisters feel that way, you know. How many brothers have seen that? You've seen sisters that think that way or that feel that way. Have you seen others? Like many of them, right? So it's an aspect where that's there, that many of them may feel that way. They feel if he, and some will really fall into a lot of depression or sorrow if he doesn't do that. Like, well, he just ain't got me no flowers, and he ain't took me on no dates recently, and I don't know what happened. He don't even love me no more. That's probably what it is. And they fall into all these negative, slippery slopes of, he don't love me, and he probably got interest in somebody else, and, you know, I'm just not it anymore. Maybe I'm getting fat, you know. So, and we fall into those things. We fall down that slippery slope because what's one of the things you're fed? He has to do those things, and it affects you, that he has to do those things. And when he's not, something must be wrong. You check the clock, something, hold on. It's like the computer's going haywire. Something must be wrong. He's not providing the activities in the way he needs to. I watched it on TV. I saw, what's that, Breaking Dawn. He should be very much like that guy, Will, whatever his name is. You know, he should be like that, and he's not like that. You know, he's not like that. So then that can lead to either more of the sorrow, like you see a lot of those sisters, he just doesn't, or it leads to more of the anger, the rebelliousness, because he's just not doing those things. But, you know, here's the flip side of it that, you know, for those that, you know, really feel that, well, if you were to say that those things are, you know, necessary, then think about on the flip side, what is it that the woman really gives the man to show that she loves him? For those that may have it, because some may really feel that, that is a representation of love. You know, what is it that the man gets then that's supposed to be a representation of love? What is it in the movies that the man gets? Name something. I mean, we got a class full of people. What does the man get? The woman got to get the date, the flight, got to take me out, and, you know, Katie do me right. What does the man get?
Most times it's the sexual part that they feel you wine and dine me, and that's your reward. But it's more to it. It's more to it than that.
Messed up as a nation then, huh? What does the man get in the shows? Y'all watch a lot of them. I know y'all watch the movie and TV. What does the man get, sis? That's it? That's it? Man, that's messed up. But nevertheless, I'll continue reading the definition. So it says to romantic. It says to exaggerate or invent detail, because they exaggerate a lot. They exaggerate hell in households, and they also exaggerate a lot of the benefits that come with relationships. And they paint this ideology that isn't accurate at all. So then it says, once again, romantic, to try to influence or curry favor. Get Proverbs 31 and 30. So it says to try to influence or curry favor, especially by lavishing personal attention, gifts, or flattery. Go ahead and get that. Proverbs 31 and 30. So that flattery and favor. Try to influence or curry favor. Read that.
Verse 30. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain. But a woman that feareth the Lord shall be praised.
So favor is deceitful, you know, because once again, you have the other aspect where you also have in some of those shows where the man may get you flowers, but then rape you. You know, the man may take you out, but then beat you. You know, so now a situation where you have it to where those things aren't necessarily within themselves the definition of love. You know, and without those things, it doesn't mean that that man doesn't love you if he's not doing those things, because everyone's situation is different. Sometimes man can't necessarily afford to do those things. You know, sometimes as a whole, your household budget may not be necessarily there to do those things at the way you may want them to be done. So, and I'll finish reading these last few. So you also have romanticism. It says, impractical romantic ideals or attitudes. Romanticism valued imagination and emotion over rationality. And that's a lot of times what you see. You see a lot of emotion in these films, and not necessarily everything that necessarily is supposed to be rational in these films, in these shows, or in these movies. So a lot of times the things that are irrational. And that was also by finddictionary.com. So now, we're going to get the other aspect where, you know, that aspect of love, what the scripture says, is what you do, you know. And a lot of times it's, yes, doing those basic things, but it's how you do them. It's in what spirit do you do them? How are you taking care of these things? And having those extras here and there to be able to help, because we all like to go out to dinner. We all like to go out to eat. We all want a back massage, foot massage. So having those things in there will help the relationship. But those things within themselves don't make the relationship, you know, because where now those things aren't able to be done, that shouldn't necessarily take away the enjoyment of the relationship in the aspect of whether or not you're questioning your partner whether or not they love you, because they may not have been doing those things as much, you know. And sometimes things happen. Sometimes we fall into depression, frustration, where we're not able to do those things as much, or we don't feel in a good place to do them as much. And we have to be understanding of our spouse that may be in that spot to where, you know what, you know, I help you get back to where it is that you need to go. So it's kind of like, same thing like with patience. Patience isn't just, because some may say, well, how's him paying the bills and, you know, and taking care of the household? How's that love? You know, that's not anything extra. That's what he's supposed to do. Or aren't you still supposed to wash the dishes and watch the kids and take care of that? And the same argument can be made, well, how is that love? You know, if that's what you're supposed to do. But it's how you do it. What manner of spirit are you doing it in? Think about it like patience. What's patience? Someone define patience. How would you define that? You know, not you. So, think about it. Patience. So, long suffering. Correct. Long suffering. So, and I'll sum it up this way. Patience isn't the ability to wait within itself. It's not just the ability to wait. That's a lot of time when we're taught patience, you just got to wait. That's not patience. Anybody can wait. You see people in line, come on. How much longer? I mean, damn, I got places to go. Would you say that person is patient? No. What's missing? Patience is the ability to wait with a good attitude. You have the ability to wait with a good or positive attitude. That's what being patient is. So the same way with love, it's not necessarily you doing the thing, it's in what spirit are you doing it. Because remember, the Pharisees, they were keeping the law to a degree. But what was the spirit with it? You know, go ahead. Let me get the mic. Go ahead.
You also have to have a certain level of discipline, which comes with being patient, because it's like being patient, waiting to find the right wife, versus, you know, you make a marriage based on you've been lonely. You You know what I'm saying? So you have to have a level of discipline which goes along with patience.
Gotcha, and that's important too. You know, let me know if anybody else, but that's important too. So you have to have a level of discipline that goes along with patience, and those things are important too. So, you know, and let me get some scriptures too, because I don't want to make it seem like, you know, just you're wrong for doing any of those things. You can't have them. Get Sirach chapter 14 and verse 13. So you can do good. You know, I'm just want to give the balance of the equation, because once again, you know, people watching, some may feel very one-sided, but I also have to go back and get the other side. Get us Sirach chapter 14 and verse 13.
Verse 13. Do good unto thy friend.
Do what?
Do good unto thy friend.
So the scriptures teach us to do good unto your friend. So because once again, is our spouse our friend? Yeah, it's supposed to be, but go ahead and read.
Before thou die.
So before you die, don't wait, you know, till you're on your deathbed to try to finally do something nice or good or beneficial for your friend. Need to be your actual spouse, or need to be, you know, someone else, brother, cousin, aunt, whoever it is that you may consider your friend. So read on.
And according to thy ability.
According to what?
To thy ability.
Is everybody's ability the same? No, everybody's ability is not the same. It's not equal. Some have more the ability to do more in some ways than others may have. Like, for example, some may have the ability to give a lot more time. Some may have the ability to give a lot more finances, depending on their situation. Read on.
Stretch out thy hand and give to him.
So, yeah, it's good to stretch out your hand and, you know, give and help and be able to do things. Read verse 11.
My son, according to thy ability, do good to thyself.
So, likewise, according to your ability, do good to yourself. You know, knowing that, yeah, I want to go out, you know, manicure, pedicure, all that good stuff, you know, getting all the good stuff, getting your hair done, all that stuff. But according to thy ability, do those things. Sometimes it may not be in the budget at the time, but if it was in the budget, it may have been okay. But due to finances, it may not necessarily be most feasible to do those things now. It may have to wait a month or two, you know. Read on.
And give the Lord his due offering.
And give the Most High his due offering. Give him what it is that you owe him. Get Sirach 29 and 23. So we have to make sure we have the ability, and then read that. Sirach 29 and 23.
Verse 23. Be it little or much, hold thee contend.
Hold thee what?
Contend.
So hold thee contented. You have to remain content. Read.
That thou hear not reproach of thy house.
Right, because guess what? And it can happen either way, because don't we all have the thing that we like? Need to be clothes, shoes, cars, houses, whatever it is. We all have the thing that we like to indulge in. You know, even if it's just a box of cookies. You know, we just want something that we have to indulge in, that sometimes we may go a little further in the budget, spending money on what it is we should do, and we may hear the reproach of our household. You know, you buying that again, and you getting this again, and it's like, man, you know, sometimes we have to be content for the moment so that it puts us in a better situation with our significant other, to where, okay, I'm reasonably buying these other things, and I'm not putting myself in a situation where I'm always doing it to a fault, and I'm now messing or putting our finances in a situation where it shouldn't be because of my indulgence. So it makes sense. So go ahead and get Sirach 14 and 9. So we don't want to hear the reproach of our household, because we don't want to hear the mouths of, you know, husband or wife, you know, regarding us going a little further on the expenses. Just Sirach 14 and 9.
Verse 9. A covetous man's eyes, a covetous man's eye is not satisfied with his portion.
So an aspect where someone who's covetous, someone who's, you know, very lusting, they're not going to be satisfied with their portion. They're always going to want more. Get Sirach 40 and 18. They're always going to want more, always going to be desirous of what more can they gain. I get another pair of shoes, but ain't good. I want another pair of shoes. I want the white ones now. I got the black one. I want the white ones. I get the white ones. I want the teal ones. I get the teal ones. I want the pink ones. Whatever it is. Sirach 40 and 18.
Verse 18. To labor and to be content with that a man hath is a sweet life.
Is a what?
Is a sweet life.
So to work, to be able to work and be happy what it is that you have, that's a sweet life. Because once again, just because I may have more things, even just have more money to get more things, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna be content or that I'm gonna have a sweet life. My life can still be very bitter. And it can even be worse with the more things I'm able to get or I'm able to buy. Go ahead.
But he that findeth a treasure is above them both.
Right, he that finds a treasure. That treasure may be an aspect in a hobby, your spouse, your kids, something that keeps you in a solid place. Go ahead and get 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 7 and 8. I'll read 7 through 9. And I'll go ahead and end this segment. Go ahead and read that.
1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 7. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out.
So we brought nothing into this world, and it's certain that we can carry nothing out. Read on.
And having food and raiment, let us be therewith content.
So having the basic necessities, let us learn to be content with our situation. Go ahead, read on.
Verse 9. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts.
So those that be rich fall into a snare of many foolish and hurtful lusts. Because a lot of times you see a lot of those celebrities, are they happy? Or a lot of times are they content with what it is that they have? A lot of times they're bitter. You know, a lot of times they're depressed, they're battling other issues. And a lot of times they're not necessarily in the spirit that you would want to be. I mean, you know, look at the lotto winner. Mosh, may you take the mic, please? And just have it in possession and pass around to those. So a lot of times, look at the lottery winners. You know, what do you normally hear about the lottery winners? What do you normally hear about them? May you pass the mic?
They're broke after a certain time of period, you know, maybe 5 or 6 years, they're broke, you know, with the money that they receive. Sometimes when a person receives a lot of money all at one time like that, they're really baffled and they don't know how to handle it. You know? Right. And plus the fact there's a lot of beggars coming through.
Right. A lot of times instead of it being a big help, it becomes a big problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it doesn't end up making things better for them. It ends up making things worse. You know, a lot of times destroy their families' relationship, destroy their friends' relationship, because aspect where the love of money, you know, become the root of all evil. You know why? Because now you're taking that money, but a lot of times you don't have righteous intentions. And if we thought we did, that changes when we get money. Like I know, I still know a millionaire, and him and his brother both got $1 million. Like literally, him and his brother both got $1 million. His mom had a lot of investments. You know, him and his brother got $1 million each. He decided to save his money, invested it more. He got more millions, you know, whereas his brother spent it all on just crazy stuff, parties and all this other stuff, and ended up getting in jail and all these other problems, and, you know, asked for his brother would help him out, get him out of jail. And then he stopped helping because it got to the point where his brother was like, well, can you give me more money? He said, look, Mom's gave us the same exact opportunity. You got $1 million, I got $1 million. What did you do with your money? You know, you spent it all. You want me to give you more of mine? He said, nah, I'm not doing that. You know, I'm not doing that. Even though they both had the same amount of money, they made completely different decisions with it, you know, and it's an aspect where it deals with a lot of the individual who, you know, has the money. You know, what spirit are you really in? You know, what spirit will you be in? And sometimes influence can be a big thing too. You know, you have certain people here in your life who may not necessarily be a good influence, you know, who may not necessarily help you do the wisest thing when you do have the finances, you know, so, but now, Switching up, now let's go ahead to the next segment is the disenfranchisement and empowerment of leaders. That's the next segment, disenfranchisement and empowerment of leaders. So, get Sirach 3 and 1. It's Sirach chapter 3 and verse 1.
Verse 1. Hear me, your father, O children, and do thereafter, that ye may be safe.
So that father is that head and that leader, right? So get 1 Corinthians 12 and 12. We're going to come back there eventually. Get 1 Corinthians 12 and 12. Because once again, that father being that head, what is he the head of?
Verse 12. For as the body is one and hath many members.
So the body is one and has many members. Well, likewise, just as far as with your household is one and has many members, family members, right? We have a lot of those. So, but that man being the head, he's the head, he's the leader, you know. But once again, dealing with the body, and I'm glad, you know, my brother was, you know, bringing it up because I deal with it pretty often. How you deal or treat your body is going to affect how the whole thing works. You know, you can't expect to not fuel your body properly and expect it to function at full capacity. You can't expect to go without, let's say, for example, you're going without sleep on in and expecting to fully work at 100% capacity. Or likewise, you're going to the gym and you're working out, you're going hard in the pain every day, even when you're sore and not letting your body rest. Either way you look at it, you're going to end up hurting yourself or hurting a part of that body if you're not properly taking care of it. That can be from the aspect of my feet. You can't just put anything on your feet and expect your feet to be fine, especially as you get older. You know, you're going to start to notice the difference, or especially you got to really hike, you're going to know the difference. You got to do some long hike for miles. You're going to feel the difference in taking care of your feet. You know, you can't expect to wear, you know, even, you know, aspect with, you know, even with undergarments. You can't expect to wear any type of undergarment and think under areas are going to be all right. You know, it may chafe and, you know, man, I can't wear this. That's a material I broke out in a rash, you know. So how you take care of each member, how you take care of the body is going to affect the body. Because think about it, even when you get a paper cut on your finger, that mug hurt. That mug hurt like hell, huh? Scientifically, the reason why it hurts is because your nerve endings are very close to the end, so it's right there, and your nerve endings are just right there. So that's why the finger, the small ones, it hurts more than the deeper ones because your nerve endings are right there. Man, that's scientifically. But nevertheless, going back to where we were. So get Amos 3 and 1. Because it's the part that the Most High wants us to understand. Get Amos chapter 3 and verse 1.
Verse 1. Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel, and against the whole family.
Against the whole what?
Whole family.
The whole family. Because remember, we're supposed to be a family, both in our households and also within the body. Because think about it. Just like we, you know, many family members say, you know, grandmama, mama, whoever it is, daddy, you know, I remember my grandmother would say, boy, you better not go out here embarrassing me, you know, going out there looking like a ragamuffin. I don't nobody take care of you. You better come in here. Nope. She called me by my middle name. Dwayne, come back here. No, child. Don't go out there embarrass me. Act like I don't take care of them children. Because you know, your family members also represent you and your household. They represent your name. We've fallen kind of out of play with that. But that's not only something for our meeting house, even in here. Because think about it. If someone sees you like that, oh, this shirt on, right? This True Nation shirt. Someone sees you with that shirt. It doesn't matter who you are. I see you doing something. What family do you think you belong to? Think you belong to True Nation, right? So it doesn't matter if you're at the store. It doesn't matter if you're just going to go get a haircut. You know, you're representing your organization. You know, even recently, there was a situation where, you know, on the street, one of our members wasn't as effective in how they parked. And you think that neighbor whose car it was that was being blocked because one of our congregants parked in front of her, the other one parked right behind her. At the end of the day, whose people is it? Can I just be like, oh, shoot, that ain't me? No, they're gonna say, that's your people. That's your people. Nah, well, I don't even know the brother like that. I mean, we not close, but nah, that's your people. If it doesn't matter if a brother's out here getting into a fight or a sister out here wilding out or we at the park or function, you know, who people? That's True Nation people. Like, damn, that's how True Nation get down? There only been two sisters. Damn, that's how they get down? All of a sudden, all the True Nation then got thrown under the bus of what two sisters did. Because once again, it's the family. It's the household. You guys represent each other. You represent the household. It's a lot of times we may not feel that way, but it's bigger than us. You know, it's a lot bigger than us and just what it is that, you know, we're going through. You know, it's no different than, and a lot of times we'll, as I'll get to, I'll actually get there. Get Sirach, go back to Sirach chapter 3 and read verse 1 again.
Sirach chapter 3, verse 1.
Rick.
Hear me, your father, O children, and do thereafter, that ye may be safe.
So he says, look, hear me, your father, O children, and do thereafter that you may be safe, because I'm trying to help better you and look out for your benefit. You know, that's what we try to do as fathers, brothers, sisters, leaders. We're trying to help each other become better. Read verse 5.
Whoso honoreth his father shall have joy of his own children.
So it's an aspect where the respect has to be in place. We have to give that honor, you know, and of course, you know, using father as an aspect of, you know, head or leader, but we're all leaders in here. You know, we're all heads in one way or another. You know, we have to make sure we're giving that due respect one to another, which a lot of times, man, we don't do. You know, we look down on each other. We feel that certain people are less than because of how we may personally feel about them. And, you know, that's not the case. You know, we shouldn't be like that. You know, read on.
And when he maketh his prayer, he shall be heard.
So if you don't give, you know, a certain level of respect to, you know, other brothers, other sisters, you know, think about it in both families, your immediate household and then your household here. You know, if you don't give that respect, how do you think it's going to be given unto others? You know, how do you think you're going to get that same respect? Put it to you this way. If my wife talks to me any kind of way, she doesn't really respect me, you think that is going to be productive or counterproductive in others respecting me? Counterproductive, right? So it's going to end up tearing me more so down. But think about it. How many of us, skip down to read verse 10 and 11.
Glory not in dishonor of thy father.
Sometimes we glory in the dishonor of our actual, you know, parents. Sometimes we glory in the dishonor of our spouses, our husband, our wives. Sometimes our leaders. We glory in the dishonor of them, you know, in many different ways. You know, it's an aspect where we may even encourage the dishonor of somebody. You know, it may be a situation like, you know, like, for example, may have it like at times, this brother may, you know, stumble over a word, you know, but he's still a leader, you know, over the body. So you may have it where brother might feel like, see, I was all reading at the end. You know, you may have someone that may glory in that, but think about what that does, you know, to the body. Think about what that does to that leader. You're now glorying in the dishonor of a leader, you know, and he's one of the heads of the body, you know. So what does that say about your body? You know, same thing with the aspect where a wife may do with her husband. You know, situation and, you know, is, oh my goodness, girl, he just be dumb. I don't know why he just making dumb decisions. I don't know why he be doing that. You may glory in the dishonor of your husband, or you may allow another sister to glory in the dishonor of her own husband. When at the end of the day, it's foolish, because anyone with some sense will say, well, why'd you marry him then? Obviously, you wasn't thinking too good if you married him, you know, so he must not be that foolish, because then that's a reflection of you, so you must be the fool that married him then. You shouldn't have spread your legs. Don't be mad at me, you did it, you know, so, but a situation where, you know, we glory in the dishonor of each other, you know, same thing, you know, we can't glory in the dishonor of, you know, our wives either, you know, it's like, damn, can't cook a single meal. It's like, damn, what's wrong with this? Everything burnt up, man. Why, horrible. You know, you just going on and, you know, some men do that. It's not generally a man's nature, but you do have some men, they more so vent, you know, about their wives. You know, they say things, man, my wife's stupid. You know, she just ignorant. Man, you know, so you can't do that. You know, you're tearing down your family, you're tearing down your household. Because how is it if you want your wife to, you know, be great, you know, you want your husband to be great, what sense would it be to tear down their character every time you get in front of somebody? You know, every time you're in front of somebody, all you're doing is tearing down your spouse to somebody else. Even though the aspect with me, if I'm assigning, you know, brothers for security, you know, because I oversee that, you know, it's a situation where I'm saying, yeah, man, brother horrible, brother not even paying attention, and, you know, brother just, you know, on his phone all the time, and man, he ain't even checking nothing. I mean, damn. You know, and I'm just complaining, man, dude just, you know, I don't know what he doing. He walking with the walkie-talkie, you know, you know what, I don't know, he ain't communicating nothing. Eventually, it's gonna hit a point in time like, well, who put him in that position? I mean, I put him there, but I mean, you know, but it's like, well, if you put him there, then there must have been something that you've seen to find him worthy to be there, you know, and if that's something he's not doing, then maybe, you know, you should talk to him directly, watch the way you go about it to help him become better at the position, you know, because otherwise it's not a good look for you to be going on and on about how negative this person is when you're the one that put him there. How can you complain about everything this person's doing wrong when you put them in that situation? You put them in that place. That now it starts to fall on you. It makes you look bad because now you didn't choose wisely. You didn't make good decisions. So now you have to go back and evaluate. No different than you talking about, you know, your spouse. It's going to fall back on you that maybe you didn't make the best choice. Maybe your reasoning wasn't right. And that now you're dealing with the consequences. So those are things we got to reevaluate. You read verse 7? May you read verse 7?
He that feareth the Lord will honor his father, and will service unto his parents as to his masters.
So it's an aspect where we want to make sure we're in service. You know, we're in the same service with, you know, our authorities, with each other, as we would be to our damn bosses on our jobs. Sometimes we give Esau and our bosses more reverence and respect than we would our own spouses, our leaders, things of that nature, and it becomes counterproductive. You know, there's an aspect where that's the next segment I'm gonna get into, you know, that we have to relearn how to be servants. You know, we're not taught how to serve. You know, we're not taught how we need to be as servants, as, you know, on all levels. You know, we're not taught how to do it properly. And then we end up doing a lot of things that aren't right. Think about it. You have it, when you look at a company, you look at business, because I do, you know, have these conversations with Kahan when I be at the gym, you know, always catch them. You know, when I'm there, we talk, man, and, you know, just business. You know, you look at business and company, they look at marketing and advertising, you know, and their best thing is, how can I sell the product? You know, how can I put the product in the best light? You know, and those are things that, even though we see, we don't apply it in our day-to-day. We don't apply it in our relationships. My thing is how can I look at brothers and help them be shown in the best light. And even when they're not necessarily in the best light, it's a way to say it and a way to do it that you can very well. It just takes a little bit of change and how you go about it to change how it's received from somebody else. Let's say, for example, and this is sometimes that happens a lot in situations, we not only have a problem with choosing the right words, sometimes the whole sentence structure is all messed up. We just choose the whole wrong sentence and then wonder, what did I do? You know, just for example, why you say that? I was stupid. You know, it's like, hold on, I mean, you shouldn't say that. What you mean? Okay, well, that was dumb. You know, so all right, you know, nah, you shouldn't even go about it in that way. I don't know how else to say it. You know, it was stupid. It was dumb. I mean, just what do you want? All right, so look, you would just say, I don't think that was the wisest decision. You know, or I think you could have made a better decision. That's completely rechanging the sentence because sometimes the sentence we use isn't necessarily adequate in all situations. You know, sometimes that's not the way to tell someone or to talk to somebody. And sometimes because we may not know or think about what it is we should say or should do, we cause more offenses because sometimes we don't know how to talk to people. We don't know how to deal with certain situations. We don't know how to deal with offenses. We don't know how to deal when somebody says the wrong thing. And we end up causing more offenses because of our lack of ability to adapt to that situation. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say this, but for lack of better words, that's why you hear a lot of Jakes say that. For lack of better words, I'm going to say this because I may not necessarily know or can find or think of the best word to say, so I'm going to use this as a substitute, but please don't get offended because I use this word. You get me? So, you know, sometimes we do that, you know, because you do have some people more forgiving than others. You know, some people, I could literally make a mistake right now. Get like 1 Corinthians 12, 25 to 26. Let me just get an example. So I can make a mistake. Some people can be more forgiving and some people, they can just hold it against you. Like, just hold it against you. But let me just read something, get an example. Give 1 Corinthians 12, 25 to 26.
First Corinthians 12, verse 25, that there should be no schisms in the body, that the members should have the same care one for another.
So that the members should have no schisms, and someone said, well, that's not what it said, you know, so he can't read right. You know, some people go that way. It's just, that's not what it said, he can't read right. You know, they automatically go there. And the others is like, okay, I know he just probably made a mistake, you know, it's water under a bridge. I don't have a problem with that. Sometimes that happens too, you know. But that's why, I mean, of course, we work better, but we can't hold every single little thing against everybody. You know, give 1 Corinthians, oh, I'm sorry, read that again, but for real this time.
Verse 25?
Yeah, 25 and 26.
That there should be no schisms in the body, but that the members should have the same care one for another.
So within the body, we should have the same care one for another. You know, we should have the same care about each member because everybody here is important. You know, sometimes we fall into situations where we don't feel certain people are valued, you know, and sometimes we even feel that we're more valued than other people. And that's even worse because who's to say you're more valuable? You know, I know I'm valuable. Shoot, I'm a damn arm. That person a toenail. You know, so it's, you don't know that, you know, so it's, and that's what leads to more problems too, because sometimes we feel insignificant. You know, I'm just small. I don't play a major role, you know, and it could be whether you're looking at, I don't know, someone might feel AV isn't that significant. You know, sometimes even AV personnel may feel like, man, I'm not that big. I'm just on the camera, you know, things of that nature, but you play a big part, you know, because think about it, like the eyes of the body, the eyes and the ears, because, I mean, think about if we didn't have any AV, we wouldn't be streaming now. And this class maybe help somebody, but without having the ability to stream it, that person wouldn't have gotten the help that they needed. So
that's a big part. Or some may feel just because I'm on security, I'm not of any importance. I just sit back here, you know, so don't nothing happen. But something may happen. And thanks to you being there, you could have very well prevented it or reduced the damage, you know, because, hey, things happen, scripture say some of us will die, but who knows? Maybe instead of 3 people dying, only 1 dies because of your actions. So you reduce the damage. Most High willing by you either being there or being prepared and being there. So either way. So let's go ahead and read verse 15.
You didn't want 26?
Oh, yeah, read 26.
And whether one member suffer, all the members suffer with it.
Right, because if one member suffer, we all suffer. You know, a situation, why? Because if you have it to where, you know, Yash is about to encounter, but if Yash is, you know, depressed or upset, you know, he's supposed to be here doing his job. He may not be doing his job the way he needs to because he's going through something. You know, that's now going to cause a slippery slope to where he's going to suffer. And guess what? His household's going to suffer. His wife's going to suffer. He's going to suffer with regards to his duties. He's not going to be as on point as he would normally have been. So now that's going to suffer. Things may be late, may not be done properly because, you know, he's dragging tail because he's not at 100%. So it starts to cause the body to suffer. And now it's up to me to do what I can to help him get out of that situation because I want the body to be at 100%. So I want the body to be best it can. Go ahead and
You don't want me to finish?
Yeah, you can finish it.
Or one member be honored, all the members rejoice with it.
Right. So it's an aspect one member's honored, all the members rejoice with it. So, you know, take honor in brothers and sisters because situation where they're still part of the body, and it's good to help people feel significant, you know, because they are significant. But sometimes if we don't put it out there, you know, where it's just, man, like, damn, I appreciate, you know, the good job that a brother did, you know, or if I really, you know, sincerely take time with, like, for example, you know, appreciating the car with, you know, the prison ministry, you know, him being on his game, sending information out. I checked with the brothers, you know, said they received the information, you know, so that's a good thing. I mean, you've been keeping up with that, you know, so definitely appreciate you doing that because if you weren't doing it, then that can change those brothers that, you know, are different places like Oklahoma and, you know, the prison that they'd have a different viewpoint of True Nation. It's like, man, them brothers, it's like, don't talk to me, don't send me anything. You know, they said they was going to do it and they didn't. You know, that starts to destroy the body. And the body's getting destroyed and other people don't even know about it. You know, you messing up people in different states and, you know, in prison and don't even know about it. You know, but yet and still, him taking care of that, you know, and getting good reports, that's important, you know, and it affects the body. So just that little thing. Something so that seems so insignificant or so small is something that can be so big. Because the brothers in prison, he has like 15 brothers he's working with, you know, so situation where they're dependent on him to help divvy out the information, but he's dependent on us to give him the information. So it's a domino effect. We don't get it to him, he can't get it to the rest of his group, and now we're failing, you know, and that creates schisms in the body, that creates problems in the body, because now we're failing others in regards to our works. So let's get read verse 22.
Nay, much more those members of the body which seem to be more feeble are necessary.
Are what?
Are necessary.
So even though that seem more feeble, they are also necessary. Those that we feel are more insignificant, they're also needed. They're a part of the body. They're also important. Because once again, that's why I said it's those which seem to be more feeble. Doesn't mean they are. It didn't say that they're really, you know, feeble. But no, they seem to be more insignificant. They seem like they're not as strong. They seem like they're not as big of a deal, but they also matter. They're also a big deal. They are also necessary for the body. You know, otherwise the body wouldn't be able to work at full capacity. It's like, yeah, you might be able to do without certain things, but it's still going to be hurtful not having it. You know, it's, yeah, you can do without your hand, but think about how bad you're going to feel not having your hand. Yeah, you can do it without your leg, but think about how you're going to feel without your leg. Yeah, you can do it without your foot, but think about how you're going to feel being without your foot. You know, you're not going to be at 100%, and you're not going to be able to deal with every adversity as it comes. You know, it's like, man, I'm not at 100. Get Job 6, 24 and 25.
Job chapter 6, verse 24. Teach me, and I will hold my tongue, and cause me to understand wherein I have erred.
So it's, man, teach me what it is I'm doing wrong so I can improve and change those situations. Read on.
How forcible are right words, but what doth your arguing reprove?
Right, because it may be a situation, what did I do wrong? Show me the way in which I need to do it. Because many times, like for example, you have it to where, let's say, Azar comes out and says something, you know, and he may say, you know, hey, y'all, we got to meet in the back in 5 minutes. And I come out and say, man, disregard, we ain't got to come out in 5 minutes, just, you know, ignore the statement. You know, that's not what we got to do. Even though it could be something small and insignificant, it takes power away from the brother, just that fast. Why? Because internally it's like, well, damn, well, he said it, and then, well, you're talking about and said something different. Was the brother wrong? Or, you know, I mean, well, I guess your top said something different, so all right, we can go with your top said. It takes power away from the brother, you know, in just that moment. It could be something very, very small that, you know, may go over some people's heads, but it takes power away from that leader. You know, no different than, you know, if, like right now I'm explaining, and he just cut in and just start talking, you know, it takes power away from me as a leader, you know. And then because up here in the format to where you don't want to make it look like there's chaos and disorder, you don't want to look at like we just arguing back and forth. Hey, let me talk. Damn, you know, be quiet. You know,
be quiet. I got it.
You don't want to be like that, you know. So you can't do that. So, but once again, those are the things that they can be small, but they're so big because you take power one from another instead of giving each other that due power and that due situation. A better way is, even if Brother Mayor came out and said something wrong, I'll pull the brother to the side and tell him, hey, you know, we got to do this right after. You know, you probably want to tell him, move this time. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, it's all right, man. Just, you know, go ahead and tell him and let him go back and re-empower himself rather than me coming out and saying it, because now I'm taking power away from him. And that's important because sometimes those things can be done on accident and sometimes it can be done intentional. There's some people who want to take power away from other people, and they'll find ways to do it. They'll find little ways to kind of be, you know, here, little there, so they can take power away from brothers and sisters. It could be in department meetings. It could be, you know, during certain feasts. You know, somebody says something and somebody's quick to try to step over them or step on their toes or what it is that they said, just so that they can get more light shine on them. You know, and those things you have to be mindful of. And if that's something where you see it starting to be intentional in someone's spirit, it starts to become repetitive here and there. Like I see, like every time, you know, why is it, brother, you got to try to outshine me? How come every time the sister always got to, you know, I suggest this, and she's saying she always got to suggest something like right afterwards, you know? So it's just like, what that show, Step Brother, you trying to steal my thunder? I'm not trying to steal your thunder. Just, you know, so some people want to steal your thunder. You know, some people want to do that, you know, because of the aspect of power or glory, you know, and you want to try to make sure it's not in your spirit. You know, you want to make sure you're not thinking like, I just want vain power, because then it just becomes vain. You know, you're not thinking about it in the spirit that's very Christ-like. You know, Christ wouldn't just have power just to have power. There's a need, necessity. Cool, I'll do it. You know, like even the whole aspect of like me doing these classes because it seemed like there was a need and I wanted to feel the need. You know, when the need is over, then all right, I don't really have to teach like that. You know, I'm good, perfectly fine with doing other things that just, you know, being at security where, you know, I feel most comfortable. You know, but it's one of those things to where you feel the void of the gap when and where it's needed. You know, there's a purpose behind it. You know, there's a vision behind these things. So you got to see the purpose and the vision. Get Sirach 20:6. Sirach chapter 20 verse 6. Go ahead and read that.
Verse 6, some man holdeth his tongue because he hath not to answer.
So sometimes we don't say anything because we don't have an answer. Just even like sometimes Pastor, I don't know. You know, I don't have the answer. I don't know. You know, that's fine. And read on.
And some keepeth silence, knowing his time.
And some remain silent, knowing their time. You know, knowing, nah, I shouldn't say anything. Because certain times it's whether it's in meetings, departments, or in your household, conversation, teaching, certain times it's not always good to just, you know, some people that I just gotta add in something, I just gotta add. Sometimes it's not good to add. Sometimes you gotta evaluate where, man, it was said, I just gotta be quiet. You know, I don't need to say something. I don't need to talk right now. You know, sometimes you had I got one more thing. You know, you're thirsty right now. Just take a break. You know, go get some water, you know, and think about it. Because sometimes you're paying attention, especially at times like somebody say something, you're like, man, he just said that. You know, man, she just said that. So you get that, and it's like, man, then it starts going, and you start thinking that. You just want to hear yourself talk, don't you? You just want to hear yourself say something. You know, you just couldn't wait to get on the mic or to say something in the meeting, whatever it is. You just want to hear yourself. You know, we can't be like that either. That becomes counterproductive. You know, then we only end up shooting ourselves in the foot because then it's showing other aspects of our character in the light that we wouldn't want to be shown in. You know, sometimes it's like, all right, like in the spirit, it's like street teaching. It's certain times, all right, I'm good. You know what? I ain't got to go up. That brother keep the spirit going. You know, it's as if I'm already up because that brother's keeping that spirit going. It's like as if I taught. So I'm good, you know. Or a situation where brother may be going up and, you know, it's like a situation where, all right, you know, I'll go up next. Oh, you want to go up? Oh, cool. Go ahead, brother. You know, keep the spirit going. He keeps saying what it is that I was going to say anyway. You know, so it's not necessarily a problem when you look at it that it's like, man, it's like, think about it like a relay race. You know, it's like, man, I could run the whole thing. I know I'm faster than him, but it's like, look, it's even though I'm passing the baton, it's still like I'm running the race because it's a team effort. You know, we're all making it happen. And at the end of the day, if just because that one person gets their picture shot because they crossed the finish line, man, we all crossed the finish line together because we all played a part in getting there. We all played a part in making that effort, you know, so we can all glory together on the accomplishment that we actually made, you know, because we help each other get better. So go ahead and get Proverbs 1 and 4, and then Sirach 20 and 1. Get Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 4, then get Sirach 21.
Verse 4, to give subtlety to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion.
So to give subtlety to the simple. Let's see what subtlety is. What does it mean to be subtle? It says, fine or delicate in meaning or intent, requiring mental acuteness, cunning. So a lot of times we're not always being as acute or delicate with certain situations as we should. You know, sometimes we're not handling it the way that we should. Sometimes, like I talked about with character imbalance, if I'm too strict and overbearing, it becomes real negative. Then no one wants to deal with you, no one wants to talk to you. You know, then it becomes like, damn, why he's so strict and overbearing? Then, I mean, if everything is like super lenient and, you know, super soft, then it's like, man, why is he so soft? How come he don't ever say nothing? He just lets stuff happen and go on, and it just like nothing happens. But you have to try to find somewhere in a balance between there to make it to where you have both worlds so that you have a balance. If you're extreme in either way, you're negative. You have to be balanced with the situation. So go ahead and get Sirach 21.
Sirach 20, verse 1. There is a reproof that is not comely.
So once again, there's a reproof that is not comely. You know, it's a lot of times, man, even if you look at things, it's even in a situation, knowing if someone does something wrong, you try not to put them on blast in a way that you're going to make them feel less than a woman or less than a man or less than human. You try not to do that. You try not to strip someone's dignity away from them when you're correcting them or bringing something up to them. And sometimes we don't take those things into consideration when we talk to people. You know, sometimes we just feel like they just gotta know. You know, it's like, nah, just pull them to the side or, you know, wait, talk to them on another level, another time, or, you know, maybe you got to take everything in consideration. Is this the right time to talk to them? Is this the right setting to really talk to them? You know, who else is around? You know, and also too, there is, and that's just in general, regardless of status or relationship, because those things are also taken consideration that, yeah, you don't want to at all times, just because you don't want to talk to your wife recklessly and embarrass her in front of others. You know, you don't want to do that. It's going to create more of a negative environment. You don't want to make it seem like she's just less than a woman, less than a wife, just not taking care of her business, you know, things of that nature. It's going to create more of a negative situation for you, you know. And likewise, you don't want to put your husband on blast and, you know, just talk to him any kind of way or recklessly in front of others, because that's going to create more of a problem. Get Proverbs chapter 31 real quick. Verse 23. Proverbs 31 and 23.
Proverbs 31, verse 23. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sitteth among the elders of the land.
Yeah, you want your significant other to be reputable. No one in their right mind is really looking at, man, I hold myself at just the bottom of the barrel. You know, you don't want that from your significant other. You want them to be great. You want them to be respected. You want them to be a valuable asset of the team. You know, that's what you want. So why would you do things that would be destructive towards that? Same thing with your leaders. You want your leaders to be great. You know, you want to feel like you have the best leaders in Israel. You know, so you try not to be more destructive, you know, with your leaders. You want to be in an aspect where you're doing things in a way that's appropriate. You know, I try to, you know, like I said all the time, you know, he don't like it, but Rasha is my grandfather, you know, so I try to make sure I entreat him, you know, as my grandfather. He's an elder. Same thing with my other elders, you know, with Karatazar and then with Shamawa. I try to entreat them as my grandfathers, you know, because they're old enough to be such. You know, I have to give them that due reverence and that respect, because they're old. That's why the scripture said, man, giving double honor unto your elders. You know, and a lot of times we think of that, and we think of it in a way like it's just dealing with leadership, and that's not the case. You know, it's dealing with your elders of your nation. It says, give double honor unto your elders. Then it says, especially they that labor in the word and doctrine. Not all your elders are going to labor in the word and doctrine. That doesn't mean that they're not elders, you know, and we don't give them that same reverence and respect because we think, well, they don't sit here. They just may not be. Now, the elders are the heads of the body. You know, it doesn't matter how wise I am or how knowledgeable I am. I'm not going to outrank, you know, Shamawa, you know, Karatazar. They always outrank me. You know, that's something that they are the aged men of the nation. You know, that's something like the Most High said. We got our forefathers in Egypt. Said, man, the first thing he said, man, grab the elder, the aged men of the body, those who you know to be elders, and teach them first, because they're the ultimate heads of the body. You know, and then when you read Judges, read them. You know, they went to go get the captain or whoever was the face of the body or the face of the nation. The elders went and got, hey, we're going to make this person, you know, the captain. Because the age of the body, they had the most wisdom, knowledge, and understanding on choosing someone who will be adequate. You know, a lot of those who were young, like when you read about King Rehoboam, we'll get into these things later, but when you read about King Rehoboam, you know, when it deals with that, he didn't listen to the counsel of the elders, he listened to his peers. When you read that story, you think he was someone like in his teens or 20s. That man was in his 40s. He was in his 40s and didn't listen to the counsel of the elders. Remember, the elders were all the age when there's all the ones, and like elders, our forefathers are like 60 and up, you know, or 50 and up. You know, 50 be like the age of retirement. But they were always the age man. You know, you're 40, you're still a young man. You know, you're still young. You ain't even middle age yet. You know, so it's a situation where, you know, you would go get to the aged men and deal with what it is that's who you get counsel from on what to do. You know, it's like, man, you know, look at these men almost 80 years old. You know, it's a situation where I'm in my 20s, they 3 times my age. You know, even if I'm in my 40s, they still twice my age. You know, if I'm, you know, here it is. Even if I'm 44, man, 74 or 76. I'm sorry, 74 or 76. All right, 70. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry, 78, right? Yes, sir.
No, I'll be 79.
Oh, 79. I messed everybody's ages up. All right, well, still, either way it goes, hey, if I'm 44, even if I'm 49, it's 79. It's still, a big difference, So, and that's the thing, it's giving that due respect and that due honor, but still read Sirach 21 again.
20 and 1.
20 and 1. And now one Isaiah 3 and 5.
Sirach 20 and 1. There is a reproof that is not comely.
So there's always a reproof that is not comely. Get Isaiah 3 and 5. Because this is important too.
Isaiah chapter 3, verse 5. And the people shall be oppressed, every one by another, and every one by his neighbor. The children shall behave himself proudly against the ancient.
Now, sometimes we do. We have the children behave themselves how?
Proudly against the ancient.
They behave themselves proudly against the ancient. Because, technically, in the walk with our forefathers, I'm still a child. Literally, it wouldn't matter if I was the wisest or the best at counsel in the nation. I still would not be an elder. I still wouldn't be. Not because it's not an aspect of wisdom and knowledge. It's the aspect of season and age. That's why it was, those were all those 60 and up, because it's an aspect of being aged, in other ways, So, and those are things that, and it's also given that due reverence and respect, because look at it today, yeah. You have a lot of, they call it young and dumb for a reason, because a lot of times, look at our nation today, we're very prideful. This youth in this day and age is very prideful. You can't tell them nothing, And of course, yeah, it's not always just the youth. You do have those that are older, because what's the other saying? You get older and you get stubborn. You don't want to change. You get stuck in your ways. Can't teach an old dog new tricks. You don't want to listen. It goes both ways, but, there's a balance to it. You have to keep a balance to it. Without all of that, continue reading.
And the base against the honorable.
You have that too. You have those. Sometimes we don't recognize those that are honorable. Because remember, you had a lot of other leaders in Israel too, captains and judges. Those are also the heads of the nation too, that play different roles. And those men sit in different seats of leadership, but they're still honorable. Sometimes we don't know and see certain people as honorable. It's like, one of the brothers is, he's a young man, but he's still very honorable in my eyes, and that's, Kabash, he's right there. He's very honorable, so I treat him, as such. He's very honorable to me, so it's just my opinion. Who am I? But he's someone that's very honorable, and I try to give him, that respect, on a higher level due to everything I've seen him do, so, and that's something he's done more than earned for me and my experiences with him and in my eyes, so you got to identify, the honorable too, because sometimes those that aren't as honorable, you start to talk to those that are significantly more honorable, feeling that they're your equal, and that's not the case. It's just like, you don't talk to any sort of way, with your elders. You treat them as your parents, your father figures, your mother figures, your brother figures, so on and so forth. Same thing with the honorable. You don't talk to them any kind of way. You don't treat them any kind of way. Think about it. Get Daniel real quick. Would you talk to Daniel any kind of way? Daniel was a youth, though. He was a wise youth. He was just a kid. But you wouldn't talk to him any kind of way? Look at a lot of time David. For the longest time, he was just a kid. He grew. David didn't become king, correct me if I'm wrong, but until he was 30 years of age. It was even like his battle with Saul. It wasn't a short thing. It was a time period that took place. But go ahead and get Daniel and read this real quick. Get Daniel chapter 1. And let's read verse 17.
Daniel chapter 1, verse 17. And as for these 4 children, Yahweh gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom.
He gave them what?
Skill in all learning and wisdom.
But who gave it to them? Most High did. You know, the Most High, he gives the Spirit as he wills to whomever he wills at whatever age he wills. You know, just because, you know, someone is old, they could be wise, they could be foolish. Just because someone is young, they could be wise, they could be foolish. It all depends on how the Most High gives out and divvies out his Spirit. You know, that's why, you know, you got to treat everybody with that level of respect or dignity, because in the next segment I'm going to deal with is the next lesson is serving the servants. Teach me how to be a servant, you know, and situation where, you know, we're going to deal with how to deal, you know, and just different aspects of spirit. But the last one I'll get, and this is the very, very last one, give First Maccabees chapter 5. You know, your First Maccabees chapter 5. And read verse 17. Let's start at verse 17. So I want to get this because this is an aspect with like protocol and leadership where, because some people feel, well, it's not a commandment of the Most High, so why do I have to listen? Read 1 Maccabees chapter 5 and read verse 17.
Then said Judas unto Simon, his brother, choose thee out men, and go and deliver thy brethren, that there are in Galilee, for I and Jonathan, my brother, will go into the country of Gilead.
He told Judas, hey, Judas told his brother Simon, look, go find every man. You know, read on.
So he left Joseph, the son of Zacharias, and Azariah, captains of the people, with the remnant of the host in Judea to keep it, unto whom he gave commandment, saying, take ye charge of this people, and see that ye make no war against the heathen until the time that we come again.
So is that a commandment where you'll be able to find somewhere in the scriptures where that being said, what he told him to do? You won't find it. Not verbatim like that. Like I said, I told, you know, Aman, you know, hey, I need you to, you know, make sure you watch the door, things of that nature. You going to find that in the scriptures directly? You're not going to find it. Read verse 56 to 62.
Verse 56, Joseph, the son of Zachariah, and Azariah, captains of the garrison, heard of the valiant acts and warlike deeds which they had done. Wherefore they said, let us also get us a name and go fight against the heathen that are round about us.
So right now, were they trying to listen? They weren't trying to listen. They decided to rebel. Jump down and read verse 61 to 62. Actually, I'm sorry. 59. Read 59.
Then came Gargius and his men out of the city to fight against them.
Read verse 60.
And so it was that Joseph, Azarias were put to flight and pursued unto the borders of Judea, and there were slain that day of the people of Israel about 2,000 men.
Read on.
Thus was there a great overthrow among the children of Israel, because they were not obedient unto Judas.
They were not what?
Obedient unto Judas.
Someone said, who's Judas? Who's Simon? Then I have to listen to him, because that's the way we see it, man. And it's like that because, think about it, with leadership, did you guys see or hear a voice of the Most High saying that that person's leader? You guys see that with these other camps? Did you see a great prophet come out of somewhere that you seen had proof that he was a prophet, that had a vision that this person was leader, Most High chose this person? You didn't get that either, huh? Did you get the situation where you knew the Most High chose this leader, and that leader that the Most High chose the next leader? Did you see that? No. So that's why there's not as much respect for leadership in these congregations. That's why when we look at the congregation, you don't really respect them because you don't feel like the Most High put them in place, because you didn't see any of those things. So they feel less significant to you. you know. And then who's to say, well, if you feel like the Most High didn't put those men in place in those congregations, then you probably don't feel like the Most High put the men in place in these congregations or in here, because that's how you feel. But it's an aspect where, yeah, that deacon, that bishop may not be your deacon or bishop, but he's still a leader over Israel, and you treat him as such. He's still an authority over all Israel. The Most High isn't calling a camp, he's calling all Israel. You know, it doesn't matter how you feel about him. That's, you know, what the Most High chose. That's how he chose. So you have to give that same respect amongst all leaders of all camps. You know, I may not disagree, but I'm not going to, you know, talk bad about their leader. You know, I'm not going to, you know, put that on social media and things of that nature. You know, I may not agree, but that's not going to be a good look for us or for them, you know, and keep those in mind. And that's why, you know, 1 Peter 5:5, and, you know, I'm going to close out because I'm over time reasonably. I mean, 1 Peter 5:5. But I just want to finish this segment so I don't have to go back and do it. I'll just go on to the next one. Get 1 Peter 5:5.
Verse 5, ye have lived in pleasure.
1 Peter 5:5.
Oh, 1 Peter, I'm in James. 1 Peter 5, verse 5. Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Ye, all of you, subject one to another, and be clothed with humility, for Yahweh resisteth the proud, giveth grace to the humble.
Right. So it says, yeah, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder, but also remember, all ye be likewise submissive one to another. You know, everybody has to submit one to another, regardless of age, rank, whatever it is. You have to be willing to be humble. Then the greater thou art, the more humble thou should be. You know, you should be. You know, so we just have to keep those things in mind. But you know, that's it for today. Finish the segment. You know, hope you got something out of it. Are there any announcements, or actually any questions? I'm sorry. Any questions? And then are there any announcements? You know, from anybody? Go ahead, Sir Kabash.
They got it.
Shalom, everybody. Just another announcement, reminder, the $50 that are due for the Feast of Dedication is $50 per adult, due next week, by November 18th. Take one of those envelopes, put it in a box, but $50 per adult for members, due November 18th. This is for the Feast of Dedication.
Good, got you. Just a reminder, tomorrow you guys can